What's good, everybody? It's your man, the myth, the legend, the voice, bringing you this week's timeout. This is where we take a step back and assess the game of life, looking to God for strategies to bring us true success. This week's thought, he's right there. Coach Prime suffered greatly in the Buffs' first loss of his coaching tenure. Not only was the team devastated, embarrassed by how Oregon thrashed them, the confident coach had to face all those media members and haters who have been waiting for him to have a misstep. Anything to bring the brash, confident coach down a peg was welcome by those who rue his demise. On top of dealing with the pundits' punches, one of his players was severely injured. You often hear him refer to players as his sons, but this one is literally his son, Shiloh Sanders. Shiloh not only has athletic prowess like his old man, but at Jackson State and now at Colorado, he wears number 21, just like dear old dad. How is he able to function being Coach Prime, running a multi-million-dollar athletic team, while his son, starting defensive back, bearer of his name, had to go to the ER as soon as the plane touched down in Boulder? He's able to do it because he was taking the time needed to be with him. Yes, Coach Prime knows that he's blazing trails for black coaches, but he also knows that he's setting an example for his household. Recently, I was listening to the Dad Tired podcast. The speaker shared an idea of the sovereignty of God that I hadn't heard before. When Jesus went to Bethany, he knew that he would raise Lazarus from the dead. He knew this as soon as he got word of his illness. In fact, he waited 2 days afterward. He knew that Lazarus' situation was temporary and that God would use it for his glory. For Jesus to go, knowing that he was putting himself in danger because the people of the region recently tried to stone him, he went anyway, risking his life. He went to the city where his friends lived, and now one of them had died. He didn't dismiss or downplay their feelings. Mary and Martha wept and said, "If only you'd been here. We called for you. We believed that you would heal him as you had others, but you didn't show up in time." Reading the room, he didn't harp on God's plan for the tragedy. He did something more important to them. In that moment and for that moment, he wept. He sat with them in their sorrow, and he cried along with them. This wasn't a one thug tear rolling down his face. No. The crowds were moved by his sorrow and remarked of his love for Lazarus because of how he mourned. Everything that Mary and Martha said was true. Lazarus would have been healed if he had come when they called. They would not have to bear the suffering and anguish that accompanies grief. On top of that, his death likely meant the loss of their income and their stability. Why would the Lord allow this to happen? It was because he, like Coach Prime, was there with them. He ministered with his presence, sitting with them, suffering with them, crying with them. He then showed that he was God calling Lazarus out of death and the grave and into life. There are times that God moves and keeps us from calamity. There are other times where he does not spare us from the bad. On either end of the spectrum, know that God is right there. He sees and knows all, and he cares. There's a record kept of all of our tears, and he awaits for the day when we will cry no more. So here's the play. When God allows suffering in your life, know that he has a plan and a purpose for your pain. He's right there with us because he cares. It's your man, the myth, the legend, the voice with this week's timeout. All right, time to get back in the game of life. Until next week, ready, break.